12, 13 pounds. I've not opened it yet, but it's meant to be cable repair kit. Some cable in, as well as some little crimping units, whatever they're called. That print is way too fine for my eyeballs to read. I need some glasses. This is Brian, known as Daisy Cat. He is very good at kind of finding stuff that I might need as well. So we were looking, while he was traveling in America, we were trying to buy a replacement foot brake, hand brake, e-brake, emergency brake release. You know what these do? Release. So you release the hand brake or foot brake, which is actually foot pedal on the side of the vehicle, because that's been snapped since day one, and there's a piece of wire that's replaced it. But I'm assuming, I've not really been able to look quite deeply into it without a strong light, that there's got to be a pivot point which the hand release then pivots and releases the cable or the catch via probably a ratchet type thing that hooks in, which you then release so that the brakes release at the rear. So I'm going to try and use this to reconnect the actual handbrake lever, which fits in the dash. But Kevin has also given me these. These are really good for setting up your fruit trees and whatever. But he's used them in a variety of ways. So they come with little, I don't know what you call these, little inverted saddles, I guess, relays that you can run around to direct your energy. Now these little guys, which we all know, they just put cable tying together. And more importantly, these little units, which if you look carefully, the cable goes through the one side and the other side, or you can even fold them back on themselves, I believe. And then you crimp them with a pair of pliers, with Wireman's cutting pliers, and you put two crimps in there, and once they've collapsed, they push the cable, the actual steel cable, essentially flat to some extent, so they distort it, so that that cannot come out of this crimp. But I would try and use it with the small unit once I've opened up to see what exactly is in here. So that's the plan for today. See if I can fix that. While Brian was traveling around Florida, he's also managed to find me an indicator stalk, which includes the windscreen wiper controls as well as the cruise control. So hopefully that'll come in the post at some point. I need to get some money back to him, but whichever way it goes, thanks Brian for getting me the bits I need. Fit that indicator stalk, because at the moment, if you turn left, the self-cancelling doesn't cancel. The windscreen wipers, if you push the wiper to turn it on, it does its own thing, or it's actually a twist knob, but if you turn it to turn it on, it will stop when it feels like stopping. When you turn it off, it doesn't necessarily stop all the time. The only way to really stop it is to turn the ignition off. You can't do that on the motorway when you stop windscreen wipers. And the worst part of it is the wiper wash unit. So the actual sprayer unit, if you push that button, which is another little twist forward button, on the same stalk, this is a multi-purpose or multi-function stalk. If you push that forward, you will empty the whole 5 liters of water or screen wash until it's run out. And in fact, what I did was I disconnected it the last time when it emptied itself out, once I was trying to wash the screen. When I took it for the MOT, I reconnected it. It worked, thankfully, and it worked correctly. So sometimes it'll work correctly, but it's definitely indifferent as to what the rules are. I think it's just that it's totally worn out. So the indicator stalk, if you turn left, doesn't self-cancel. When you turn right, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So I think there's just a mechanism that's just really worn out. So hopefully the one that Brian has gotten me while he was traveling around Florida with his family will work, and that should be here in the next day or two, hopefully, if the postal services deliver in time. But I'll fit that on a separate occasion. Today I'm going to see if I can get the park brake or e-brake or handbrake cable, the release, replaced with something different, because he did find an original part, because these are not manufactured anymore. Brian found one for sale on eBay and it was close to $100. Now I'm not paying $100 for something that hopefully I can fix for some time on my knees, turning myself inside out and upside down under the dash, and potentially a 12-13 pound repair kit. So we'll see where this ends up at. It's that time of the year again. Harvest. But we also have other jobs to do. So today, one of my jobs is to try and repair this little guy. So you've got a foot brake and you have a release. The release is high tech once I get it disentangled from the foot rug. So a bit of wire with a loop in. I'm not sure what you do with the loop. And then it's functionally up here. When you look underneath there, you just follow it, and it goes all the way up there. And it's attached to a pivot point. Not sure exactly where, because I've not crawled in here yet. So the idea is to make up a release, because that, where's my finger? That there is the release that runs through, probably to the back wheels. So there's a pivot there that just needs this wire removed and replaced with a decent cable that will then feed back. Where's my camera angle? There. That's where the release normally would go. So the brake release is attached. This looks like it's factory crimped in there. But if I can thread this section through that hole, which I've looked at the design, this actually is really fixed into this part of the dash. I might have to disassemble this section of the dash to get to the back of that, to release that hole, feed that through, and then connect the cable to a cable that I might just connect somehow to the pivot point on the other side. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Tractors are working hard. These guys are baling all the hay from harvesting. It's a bit of fun. I quite enjoy watching this process. And every year the machines get bigger and bigger and bigger. I'll be honest, I don't particularly like the farmer and his business that he runs here. But we rely on all of them, I guess, so there you go. All the supersized tools that they have up here destroy the local roads. So you've got potholes everywhere. Going up there you can see the patchwork. Every time there's a few holes, the council comes and repairs just a few holes and then they disappear again. And nobody actually reprimands the farmer, who really should be paying for this, because he's the destructive force. I've opened this. Interesting bits and pieces. I'm struggling with trying to just reinsert the old cable down its conduit. One dessert spoon later, we have removed the actual end of this, which looks like that. It's all kinky and bent and whatever, and then obviously comes out the bottom here. You can't see it, but it's up there. A little bit of blue. Where the blue is is where that cable should come out. So if I can make this cable work in reverse, feed it in through the blue, and have it come out underneath the dash out of there, I'll figure a way of putting a nut or something on there, so that then when you're sitting driving and it's dangling down there, at least you can release it once you've used the e-brake, foot brake, whatever you want to call it. The other interesting finding is that the original cable is even thinner than this repair kit that I've got. So this repair kit, I think, is for bicycles and a variety of other things. But I'm going to try. Hopefully I can get this thing to fit into this conduit from the back forward. I can only try. Fingers crossed. Went to the marine shop, couldn't get cable. Went to the bicycle shop, got some gear change cable, and I've managed to thread it in to the blue ferrule where it goes in. I'm now going to push it through and see if it comes out the top. That's the first thing. The second thing is that little nipple there, or whatever you want to call it, little button, has to hook into the release section at the other end. When you look at this, it's quite rigid, the whole feed through section, but hopefully the cable will come through and I'll attach something to it. I'm not sure what yet, but I'll figure out something, just so you can grab and release when you need to release the handbrake. But the important thing is that that goes up to where the green wire goes up there, and then it has to attach up there. You can see it's knotted in there if you look carefully. So hopefully I can get that other end in there. But I've got 3.6 meters of cable to thread through here, and I only need about 500 mil. So yeah, let's see what we can get done next. Let's see how far we can get this thing through. I'm going to pull the cable through one more time. Of course, typically it's caught up behind some more. Let's see if we, so we need this to come out here. If I feed it in. Right, that's good news. That's part one. We've come through, which is good news. Part two is that I'm going to take this mat, put it out on the driveway. Let's see if I can save my knees a little bit, because the gravel and shit out here is hurting. It becomes soft as you grow older. Right, so this part's okay. Now the next trick will be to undo that, to pull that off, and then I have this whole lot spinning away madly like that. So we now need to pull all of this through 3.5 meters, 3.6 meters. And see if somehow I can hook this in here. I probably would do better getting a torch and a pair of pliers, so I can undo this original mounting. Saying that, let's just see. Let's just see if this will go through there. I'll probably be better off fetching a torch, to be honest. A little LED torch or something. Right, that's in position. That's part one. Oh. Okay, so that's now in the little lever that releases this thing. Let's see if we put that on. So we've got the handbrake on. You then pull. Oh, and it releases. Let's try that again. Handbrake on, or foot brake, e-brake, cable, and it releases. That, I think, for £4.50 and a lot of traveling and £3 worth of car parking and maybe 10, 12, 14 miles driving to various places to fetch. I think that's the answer. We've got this in place that works. This can go back where it came from. But the important thing I need to do, once I've refitted that in there, is to figure out where I'm going to cut this. I have one of these little guys. I have various of these attachments that you screw on and hold on to that. Maybe I should get, I don't know, something interesting to put on there. Tighten this inside of that so it becomes a knob. And then it'll sit here, and whenever you need to, imagine I use a Smurf head. You pull the Smurf's head and the e-brake releases. But I think this is good news. So I'll report back once I've figured out the rest of this, but I need to undo this original fitment. That's how I bought the car, with some green wire attached to the same release mechanism. But it's been twisted on, so I'm not sure I can undo it with my hands. I'm sensitive. Let's see. Where is this guy? I definitely need a torch so I can see what I'm doing. Right, I'm back. I have a few ideas. I don't know if you can see them. I have a keyring. Very appropriate. I could drill a hole top to bottom, put the cable through it, and put one of these little captive units at the other end. So it sits like that and it hangs like that, and you pull to open. That's one way. I have two of these in my little collection. They're just Chevy trucks. You know them. But again, there's a space in there for this to sit. So if I run a cable through the bottom, connect it there, and you then have that dangling there, just like that. You actually have a really nice, and it's got a space for your thumb as well, a really nice release. I'm starting to feel that this is going to be the answer already. So there's that as an alternative, and then there's this, which is just doesn't smell much anymore, but a little deodorant thing, which you could once again just mount there, cable through, and something to capture the front. But I think I've answered my question myself. I think that is going to be my new release. This is the original, and that's the brake release according to Rian. I think that is the right design for me personally. Biggest thing is just making sure that I capture this and work it through to in reverse. But yeah, here's your answer. I still need to get inside there to figure out how I'm going to get this green, wire out the way, because that I haven't figured out yet. Oops, so good. Typically the battery's gone for a ball, so now it needs new batteries. Oh, bugger. Right, new batteries. back. Alright, and I'm back again. Batteries. Suddenly we have proper light. Let's see how this was put together. Right. Isn't that funny, eh? When you try, you fail. And half the time when you try it differently, it operates differently. So I think for the moment, the answer is just to tuck this out the way, like that. I'll come back for it later on when I've got a pair of side cutters. Fix this in position. Make sure that that is in place, fully hooked in. Why? There we go. Right, so the trick is going to be firstly to re-thread this back where it came from, like that. Right, test it again. So we got handbrake on, foot brake on, e-brake on, call it what you like, e-brake on, and release. Easy, 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 easy. Right, so now the next trick is to go drill a very small hole through this, put the cable through it, and then capture this whole lot in one. I'll see how that works. Right. Because that's what we've got. Right. It's quite interesting. Okay. So you can hear it click, pull on it, and it releases. So cool. Garage, drill a hole through there, and take it from there. That's quite cool. Right, we're back. Carpet down for my little kneecaps. Yep. Right. We have one task force truck made in Thailand. I drilled a hole through the back there, which comes out underneath. So once I have that attached there, with your thumb on there, bit of leverage, you will then have the release for this. So that should work. I also have, thanks to Kevin, a small little thing that this goes around. I don't know what this will have a special name. So the cable will run around that and fed through back again. When you get to the other side, you run it through these little guys. Only one of them I suspect is necessary, although saying that it's always tempting to put two. And then you crimp it with a pair of side cutters and hopefully don't cut right through. I haven't tried to see how strong this cable is, but hopefully these side cutters that I use for my welding will do the job. So first trick will be to get all these ends together. Because this now has to go first and foremost through here, then through the truck, all the way until we get to the other side. At which point I now need to make sure that I've got the right length. At which point I have to feed this through again, the same place, and then through the second hole in this little, what shall I call it, little, I don't know, lock, clamp down lock. Isn't it funny how shit will get caught up? Now it's caught behind the gas pedal and the brakes. Why did you do this now, idiot? It's funny how stuff happens, eh? Right, so now you have a loop in the bed. You have these two going through there. Obviously I have to bring it right up close before I do anything with it. So what I am going to do, which will gain me about an inch, is release this guy, and then I should have marked it. This is not much of a mark where it needs to go to. So that little mark that I've put there is really where this guy needs to sit. So that needs to be right up there. Then this lot. Then you pull this one through as far as you can get it. Up to this point where this little guy goes through. And I'm going to assume that you pull it really hard till it kinks. It's probably the only kink going to be in my life today. Certainly doesn't want to do it. Let's see. This is going to be a little bit of fine-tuned work. You can't see it, but I've got to try and feed it through the hole in the bed like that, so it stays there. Get it up to here, so it stays there. Actually bring it up ever so slightly, like that. Ah, yo, do it. Alright, so we do that again. And we pull this through really tight. Right into, no, that's not working. Got to get that into that hole in the bed. I'm not sure this is going to work, but we won't know until we try. At which point I might have to cry. Put two cables through, but we need to put this one through this side. So they've now mounted the same hole, which is no good. That is no good. I'm not sure if this is going to work if I do this all in one hole. I do not know. Should I even try this or redo it? I think redoing it is the answer. This is the fun part about building shit. tape, some fresh tape. Right, I'm back with a little bit of box tape, some brown tape. Now I've got to figure out first where this thing stops and starts, because actually this is where it needs to be, in the relaxed position, and then can't go further than that. But it allows me some space to work. Right, let's just see what this thing's doing. Right, that's got actually got 2 cables. Let's try this again. Fingers crossed. Because I'm neurotic, I need to give it one more crimp in the middle. Right, let's see if that works first. Oh. Before we cut this one off. So, first of all, let's see if we can get that refitted. Right, that one's in. Let's see. Handbrake on, or foot brake on. E-brake on. Release. Cool. I think that it's not exactly the way I want it, but we can make it move about. That's my little truck. E-brake on, e-brake off. Right, let's see. Next job will be just to cut this off at a sensible distance. I'll do that in a moment. So, last show. We have a handle. We have a task force truck, came from a boot fair. Drill a hole through, put the cable through. So now, put the e-brake on and you release. E-brake on, foot brake if you want, hand brake, and release. And that little guy will stay out of the way. Pleased as anything. That's good. That's good.